So a month ago, a Vogue article came out named "Is Having a Boyfriend Embarrassing Now?" It was written by Shante Joseph, and it talks about how having a boyfriend nowadays doesn't really fit the standard for women. There's this new idea online that having a boyfriend doesn't fit girlhood anymore, and this signifies a huge shift because not so long ago, being in a relationship or being married represented respect, status, safety, and belonging. But now, women don't need that to be fully themselves. We don't need to attach a man to our image in order to be taken seriously, or at least I hope so. So I don't think this is exactly about men, it's about women wanting to reclaim their own identity and personality. Being single doesn't mean failure anymore, it means freedom. And that's what this video is going to be about. Hi everyone, welcome back. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're already cozy with your drinks and snacks because this is going to be a deep dive. I just want to start the video by saying that I love that something is generating discourse and people are sharing their opinions. It's amazing to see this when people nowadays are talking about the death of critical thinking. So I think this gives everyone hope. So without further ado, let's get into it. As I have mentioned already in the introduction, there has been a huge shift for women. Before, being married meant status. Single women not so long ago were seen in a very negative light. The whole image of a woman in their 30s or 40s locked at home with her 30 cats meant loneliness, meant that a woman did not succeed in life, even though she might have had a good career or was smart or whatever. That was all taken away just because she was single. And nowadays that doesn't happen. Many women dream of being alone in their houses with their cats. That's not seen as a bad thing anymore. And why is this? Because women nowadays have financial freedom. You don't need a man to open a bank account, to own private property, to have a job. Women can pretty much survive and live their lives without having to have a man attached to them. And this is good. It's good that a woman can affirm to herself that she's valuable, desirable, and worth something without having to be in a relationship or being married. Also, now social capital comes more from what you own, from your friendships, from your connections, from your career. Our society has become much more consumeristic and individualistic rather than revolving around one's relationships. A boyfriend isn't a flex anymore, it's restrictive and potentially embarrassing. And one of the most important topics of the article, I think, is that it touches on how a woman might not want a boyfriend right now because they don't want their whole reputation to be centered on having a boyfriend or a husband. In fact, if you're a woman who's in a relationship and all you talk about with your girlfriends is about your man, about how being in a relationship is amazing, if you post too much about it, if you are seen in public too much with your partner, you might be seen as boy crazy, dependent, a pick-me, or just cringe. And yeah, this is very much the culture we have today. Of course, this is a very leftist idea. People who are more right-wing oriented, they of course value trad wives, marriage, and things like that. Just think about conservative values. Of course, this article doesn't fit that perspective. Actually, one of the arguments for people who think that having boyfriends is embarrassing is it also feels Republican. But yeah, why does having a boyfriend feel Republican? Because traditionally, locking yourself down and settling down is seen as the conservative life path. And for people who are not in the whole alt-right pipeline, they think women have fought so much for their sexual freedom, reproductive freedom, and financial freedom that now locking yourself up with a man feels like throwing all of that down the drain, and that's not what they want. And I know there's this idea that the feminist battles have been all won and there's no need for feminism nowadays and that everything is good, but that is not true because there's still a huge pay gap, for example, and women feel that if they keep going for these relationships with men that they will never conquer those things that are still yet to be conquered. So now attaching yourself publicly to a man can feel like giving up autonomy, performing heteronormativity, submitting to patriarchal expectations, or just being traditional. So truly, being single feels rebellious. And I want to also attach this to the idea we've had for the past year, maybe 2 years, of the cool girl who parties, who is messy. This whole aesthetic of, for example, the Brat album by Charlie XCX, who by the way is married now. So yeah, there's a lot of paradoxes and things that don't really match in this whole idea, and that's why this whole philosophy is a little bit flawed in my opinion, but I'll give my thoughts later on this video. Now, being single means being detached, revolutionary, while being in a relationship means conforming. And this is reflected in influencers and public figures. We have been watching a phenomenon that whenever a public figure hard launches their male partner, they lose a significant amount of followers or subscribers. And that is because their audience fears that they will become this idea of the dependent boy crazy woman. It breaks the parasocial girlhood bubble, where before it was just one woman talking to other women and sharing tips for her female audience and all of that, and they fear that suddenly her male partner will be in all the content she produces, in everything she says, that it can even change their way of thinking, which is crazy because a lot of women are capable of thinking for themselves, you know, their whole perspective on life shouldn't change whenever they just get in a relationship. But yeah, the public fears that they will be less free, less fun, less relatable, and that they will become normies, or just honestly become a trad wife, just become a Republican content creator, which is very much on tune with all that I've said before. In the article, the writer calls this the politicization of identity. This is the process of turning every aspect of one's personality into political actions or call for political mobilization. So in this context, people read these creators beginning of a relationship not as a personal choice, but as a political statement, which is, again, not true. Someone can just enter a relationship because they fell in love with someone, or because, well, life just went that way. Just because someone is in a relationship, they are not saying, well, everyone else here should be in a relationship and they are losers if they're not in it. That's not the point. People are way too deep in this. But in this way of thinking, the boyfriend becomes part of the brand and can often dilute it completely. It can destroy a whole person's brand. And I also want to link this to escapism, which was kind of the topic of the last video. It's gonna appear here if you want to check it out, where this whole girlification of life and making everything look like this soft feminine aesthetic doesn't quite fit a man in it. When a creator's whole personality and whole content is revolving around this soft aesthetic and just being a woman and female energy or whatever, when they bring a boyfriend into it, it kind of breaks the narrative, and the parasocial relation that often viewers have with a creator can be very easily broken. So this is how girlhood escapism can be ruined by a male presence. Now, in my honest opinion, I think this collective fear is not really about boyfriends. Women aren't really embarrassed of love. Women are scared of losing their identity, of losing themselves, of losing their independence, of being disrespected, of being controlled, of all the things that they have been for so long. And now that we have this kind of freedom, the women just don't want to lose it. Also, adding on to this fear, it's not really embarrassing to have boyfriends, it's more embarrassing about the breakup. They find embarrassing breakups or being cheated on, for example, showing something so much online for it to end someday and it being represented as their personal life failure. They couldn't hold on to a relationship, or that they were material to be cheated on, which is crazy. It's putting on women this responsibility that is usually not put on men. On the other hand, I think that another group of women are not scared of breakups or being seen with a man, but also about men specifically, because there's this whole idea that all men are toxic and abusive and being in a relationship with them is just not worth it. And yes, while a lot of women have had this terrible experience that I do not wish upon anyone, it also does not mean that it only happens with men or that it will happen with all men. There's a lot of men out there who are not toxic, abusive, and on the other hand, there's a lot of women out there who are toxic and abusive. It's not like that by avoiding men that you will be completely avoided narcissistic behavior and toxic abuse. In fact, I think a lot of women need to be told that you can be happy with a man and you can be in a successful and healthy relationship with a man. But I understand the whole fear and the whole trust issues with men. I mean, if you went to a restaurant who was bad and they gave you bad food and bad service, would you go there again? I guess not. I guess you wouldn't go there again, and you wouldn't trust the restaurant to give you a better experience the next time. So I think that's the same way that a lot of women perceive men. However, I think that a lot of women just need to kind of heal instead of being like, man bad, like I feel like there's a lot of healing work that needs to happen, not just for women, also for men, like these men who are toxic and abusive. And it is a pattern in a lot of types of men out there that need to be looked into. It's not only about women. But going back to the topic, I think this is just like a communal trust issue. It's like the blind leading the blind, but instead it's just women telling each other that men are bad and that it's not worth it and we should all just be single. uh, Maybe I'm biased because I am in a healthy relationship. Breaking the news, by the way, I do have a boyfriend. Maybe I am embarrassing. But yeah, may I be the person that tells you it is possible. I've been in one for a year and a half and it's been great. And I'm not scared of saying that, because if one day we break up and I have to come here and tell you guys, hey, I am going through a massive breakup, I will say that, and it's okay, because beginnings and ends are part of life. Life is a cycle, and it's with the new beginnings that we start new journeys, and it's with the endings that we get the lessons that we need to start a better beginning. Do you understand this? I don't know if this is confusing. This type of thinking just comes very natural to me, and I understand that for some people it's very hard to understand life as like a wheel instead of a continuous line. But yeah, I think it's very good to just perceive life in this way and to shift your perspective a bit. But going back, I feel that this whole thing is more like a mass panic over committing to men, over a genuine thing of it is having a boyfriend embarrassing. I don't think having a boyfriend is embarrassing. It is embarrassing if you are in a abusive relationship and you stay on it just because you want a status or because you want whatever you think comes with having a man. That is a bit embarrassing if you haven't broken out of those norms. But again, why are we blaming women over being stuck in the whole patriarchal system? Like, we are told that this is how we are meant to deal with men and what we are meant to do with our lives since we are little kids. So why are we really blaming women for doing this when men are not blamed for things that are usually pardoned with the argument boys will be boys, it's just, again, women are not being put to the same standards that men are. So just because there's endless stories of men disappointing women and of bad experiences, does that mean that being in a relationship is not worth it and we should all be single? Absolutely not. I'm not saying that if you get in a relationship right now you're not going to be disappointed. There's always that chance. And I'm not gonna tell you that all relationships with men are unfulfilling. A lot of them can be healthy and fulfilling. I think what we need to shift our mindset from is thinking that a man is gonna come and take away our identity, or the idea that we need a man to fulfill our life and to fit into our lives. Maybe just think that you're a woman who is single, independent. You have your own life, you have your likes, your hobbies, your career, and you have your own identity and personality, and you might fall in love. Love is part of our lives. It's very counterintuitive to think it is not. Love is everywhere. And if you fall in love with a man, that man can enter your life but not take over it. It just adds onto it. Before you were single, now you're in a relationship. Doesn't mean that your career has to be impacted. Doesn't mean that your hobbies have to be impacted. Doesn't mean that your girly time has to be impacted. Whatever you do, whatever you value, whatever you want to keep doing doesn't have to be disrupted. There's this idea that women have to give up part of their enjoyments to make a relationship enjoyable. That is impossible actually, because if you're cutting on things that you enjoy to make a man more comfortable, then the man will be comfortable and you will not. I think what we really need is to stop this idea that women have to stop being themselves to enjoy their girl dinners, to have their own aesthetics, to have their ideas, to have everything in their lives that they enjoy just because a man enters it. I think it's very important for women to have the idea that we are whole as we are. If I was single right now, I'm here sitting and I am full, I am complete, I am myself in the same way that I am in a relationship. I just happen to love my boyfriend and I just happen to have a boyfriend, and that doesn't take away or add anything to my personal identity. A relationship is just something that I personally chose to be in, and I think this is a mindset that a lot of women need to work on and have. That's how a lot of women will stop being afraid of committing, of trusting. This is how a lot of women will be able to heal their fear of commitment or trust issues. I'm not saying I am perfect because I myself have trust issues. I was just talking with my boyfriend the other day about that, but it's a way to start changing these things about our lives and how we view our day to day. So what I want to end this video with is that girlhood and that the feminine aesthetic, whatever you see that as, yes, doesn't have men in it, but doesn't mean that your emotional life can't have a man in it. It's all about balance and communication. Being single is totally fine, but so is love. It's a personal choice if you want to be single or in a relationship, and it won't change anything about who you are. If you are in a relationship and you feel like it is changing your personality and it is changing what you enjoyed about yourself, then I think that should be a sign that you shouldn't be in that specific relationship, but not in relationships in general. It just means that that specific partner is not the partner that is meant for you in that moment. I think the only embarrassing thing about boyfriends is when you let the boyfriend be your whole life. You forget about your career, your friends, and all that made who you are vanish. I think the only thing that's embarrassing about boyfriends is when you make them the whole point. This is a question of management and balance. Men are not the enemy here, at least in this narrative. Boyfriends are not the ones to be blamed, but also not women. It's rather the culture around us and what women are taught to be from a very young age. And I think this is all I wanted to say in this video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you took something from this video. And if you have something to add, comment down below. If you enjoyed, subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye!